Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Vegan Spirituality Online Gathering. This is a special monthly program that we do through In Defense of Animals, and it's part of our Sustainable Activism campaign where we provide emotional and spiritual tools for animal activists. And vegan spirituality is a wonderful event that many people participate in across the country. And if you'd like to be part of an in-person event, you can go to veganspirituality.com, and there you'll see groups listed across the country. And what we're doing today is our online version of those groups, which explore veganism as a spiritual practice. And today we have a very special guest, and I'll let my co-host, Judy Carmen, who's the author of Peace to All Beings, she's going to introduce our guest today. My name's Lisa Levinson, and I work with In Defense of Animals as part of the Sustainable Activism campaign. Judy and I have been co-hosting these gatherings for a year or two now, and today we're very excited to introduce our guests. So Judy, thank you for welcoming everyone and giving a little more information about the Seckmans.
Thanks, Lisa. And thanks also for working out all those bugs. I didn't know what we would do if you didn't know how to do all that. It's amazing. And want to welcome everybody, and thanks for your patience for waiting through that. We've got some storms, and I think that's interfering a little bit, but hopefully we'll all go well. But we are so excited to introduce Joseph and Jessica Seckman because they founded a vegan church. It's the Universal and Apostolic Church, which espouses veganism, also equality for the male and female representations of God, and the gospel of the Holy 12 Doctrine, and the thread of truth that runs through all religions, which we've all talked about that quite a bit. Their aim is to bring the true vegan gospel of Jesus Christ to light, which is very exciting because we've also talked about that, the indications that Jesus was vegan in his family. The Seckmans have been vegan a little over 3 years. Their 12-year-old son, Joshua, is vegan, and their 1-year-old daughter, Bitya, I hope I said that right, has been vegan since birth, which is wonderful. Another lifelong vegan in the world. They have been following a spiritual path for 7 years. They search scriptures from all over the world for the truth about our origin and our purpose. They found the gospel in 2014, and now they teach equality of the feminine and masculine from the Creator to insects and every walk of life in between. Joseph and Jessica, we are so excited to have you and just want to hear all about this. I thought we could start out, because I know everybody's dying to hear how you got the idea for starting a vegan church, what a very bold idea, and how you went about setting it up and what the response has been from the public.
Great. Thank you. We're so excited to be here.
Yes. Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
We're really excited to be here, and we're excited to talk about everything going on right now today.
Yeah. It's the gospel of the Holy 12 is actually what made it possible for us to open a church and to become the church.
To find a foundation to actually really establish something that a whole set of rules that are laid out so that there is no wondering what they might mean, you know?
Yeah, and there's no inequality among us who are created. So, we wanted the church to be founded in equality and compassion and mercy and encouragement and beneficial for all creation. This faith understands the importance of the male and the female, of couples becoming one, entering into one flesh, as is written in Genesis chapter 2. So we use that, and that's actually what led us into accepting the position as the one Universal and Apostolic Church messenger.
Working together. Always.
Yes, we try to work together. Whether it's labor or cooking and cleaning, or it's spreading the gospel. But so we wanted to do equality and understand that God is the Father, the Mother, the Son, and the daughter of a divine family, more than just the Father. It's the sacred parents and the sacred children are there in this gospel.
Sorry, taking a deep breath.
I love that.
Okay, so we also understand the importance of the body being a clean temple and having to have the food that was created for us to partake, which is the vegetation and the waters of the natural vegetation, natural waters of the earth. And that's what we are, what's created for us to consume, and what is gives us health and wisdom as well.
Yes.
This gospel, it leaves no question as to whether or not there's mercy given to all created forms. It goes on to not only not killing each other as a human race, but goes on into animals. And from the prophets of the Old Testament on into this scripture of the Gospel of the Holy 12, it expounds on the teachings of the prophets, where if you read the Old Testament, you can see in Jeremiah and the prophets of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, Hosea, Amos, and Micah, that they are teaching that God never asked for sacrificial killing or sacrificial flesh eating, that this is more of man's desire than God's desire, and what God wants is for us to be humble and walk in mercy and justice with all created things. And as it speaks of those in the prophets of the Old Testament, it goes on again and speaks through the Gospel of the Holy 12, where we have Jesus speaking these things to us. Whenever we wanted to establish the church, we looked and we discovered that Jesus says that we're to follow the 12 commandments, and we're to love God with our whole heart, and we're to love all created things, and that makes us the church. And we are the church whenever we follow and believe, just as everyone who does those things, they become the church. So but Jesus requires us to follow the Holy 12 Commandments, and he even refers to the apostles as foundation stones and pillars of the church. So you can see how it really correlates, and you can understand what the church was from his viewpoint. Whenever you look in for our country here in the U.S., whenever you want to establish a church, the U.S. federal government has a list of requirements to become a church. We have you have to have a distinct legal existence and religious history, a recognized creed and form of worship, established places of worship, a regular congregation and regular religious services, and an organization of ordained ministers. Uh, but as far as the reaction from the public, it's been mostly positive, and we get some likes on the church page and on Facebook and everything, and it continues to spread out as we share it, and people seem to be pretty accepting of it. It's really new for everybody. So
Yeah.
So do you have
I
a
agree.
physical building?
We don't actually have a separate church building. There's the property that we have in the house that we're building. There's plenty of room for people who want to come and worship and, see
come
the example that we're trying to follow, we're trying to set, and trying to follow as it's given before us.
yes, where we could come together and meet of a like mind, try to discuss these things and come to a better understanding of what the gospel means for all of us. Yeah.
So do you have regular church meetings? Or is it mainly on Facebook, or how are you getting people to come to services?
As far as other people are concerned, mostly that comes with Facebook, just spreading the information that we have and trying to share, find people of like mind and stuff like that. We do believe in keeping the Sabbath holy. We practice a Saturday Sabbath. We abstain from seeking after worldly things on Saturday. We just try to remember why we're here and stay humble on that day, not go out and work, basically. So that's something that we do, and sometimes we read scriptures as a family and kind of have a Bible study together on that day too.
Yeah, that's what we would consider a worship service, I guess.
Yeah.
And it is just our family, the four of us, whenever we come together, and it's really a daily thing. We try to put something on the Facebook page every day.
We try.
When we can, whenever we're not.
Yeah, whenever we're not busy. We try and keep everything in mind. We talk about it all day long and everything else, but we do try and set Saturday aside to make sure that we take time to remember what we're supposed to be doing.
Maybe a little extra time.
Yeah.
So how would everyone find your Facebook? And maybe Lisa could put it in the chat box, maybe. Do you have it, Lisa? What is it? How can we find it?
It's Universal and Apostolic Church at Facebook.com.
Okay.
Or Facebook, however
Great.
that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it in the box.
Chat box.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Glad you're back with us, Joseph and Jessica. We were just talking about the thread of truth that you have found that runs through all the religions. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, we personally see this thread in religions. You can see examples like in Sufism, where it's doctrine to worship the father and the mother, and they promote a vegan diet and promote life for all creatures. We see in Kabbalah teachings that they acknowledge the father, mother, son, daughter, God. And Buddhism teaches not to kill any beings, human or non-human. And in Jainism, every creature, including insects, are loved and cherished and protected as priority. And the Gospel of the Holy 12 in chapter 66 states that God raised up witnesses to the truth in every age and every nation. So we believe that these are examples of these witnesses.
Yeah, and we think that the thread of truth is what you find that is good and brings goodness and only goodness throughout everything. Like there's all kinds of mistranslations or misunderstandings that you can find in scriptures just from where they've been passed down over the years. But we feel like the good on honest truth that's in everything. It's still in there. It's there within all of them.
Yeah, you just have to search to find it.
And it sounds like you've done quite a bit of searching.
Oh, we just we love it. We really do.
We spend time. We come up with questions, through just conversation, daily conversation. And when we have a question, we try and find the answer to that. We
want to know. It just makes our day whenever we get to find an answer to a question that we have, and we always have more questions. That's the good thing about it, is every time a question is answered, it leads us into more questions. So we get to continue to learn.
That's wonderful. So have you had any response from other Christian churches near you or online that have been critical of you, or do you think they're becoming more accepting of the vegan message?
It's not really. We haven't had any kind of.
We haven't had any local church interaction.
No,
really.
Not at all, really.
Okay.
We haven't had any. We don't really feel like there's been too much negativity. There's a lot of people who are unsure, a lot of people who just don't know. But we do have some friends that are starting to come around and starting to see, some of the things that we're putting on the church and liking that. And
yeah, maybe wondering a little more anyways.
Learning about things like grounding and just how to keep your body healthy, and how we feel that it's important to keep your body healthy whenever, you're walking a spiritual path, that it all plays a part, basically.
In our area, people were raised and taught that animal protein is an essential nutrient, and farming is the established and respected way of life, just like hunting and trapping animals. And in our area, we really haven't seen any kind of churches evolving with the times into veganism or a healthy diet,
or more compassionate for other species other than the human race. But it's not a common theme. It's not something that we really knew existed anywhere else whenever we were wondering about it ourselves.
Yes, and we have seen a few vegan churches come up because we're online, and that's awesome. It's great to see it.
Yeah, we're really excited to hear about those.
Yeah, I had mentioned while you were off the air, I briefly mentioned about Rob who started his vegan church in, I believe it's upstate New York. So you were paired with him on a radio show recently, which is really exciting to have both of you guys together.
Oh yes, we were very excited too.
It was really neat. We learned about Pastor Rob and got to share a little bit of the same message with him on the same day on Vegan Nation, and that was really, really, really exciting.
Yeah.
That is really, really awesome. We're so excited about this, and as I was saying, while you were out of the picture, so to speak, I was telling everybody about our Interfaith Vegan Coalition, where we're trying to help people who belong to a church veganize their church, either with, bringing in videos, giving talks, or having a speaker come in, things like that. So there is definitely a movement in this direction, and it makes perfect sense because it's the churches that have such an influence on so many people. So you're really leading the charge, and you've just taken such a bold step here. We're just really in awe of what you're doing. One of the themes that we have at Vegan Spirituality is that your spiritual joy can be enhanced by living a vegan, nonviolent life. Do you find that to be true for yourselves and for your congregation, the people who come to your church and visit your Facebook?
Oh, Yes, we definitely believe that a vegan lifestyle leads to a happy and joyous life.
Yeah. In the Gospel of the Holy 12, we read that the life and the substance of God is the vegetation and the waters of the earth. And in the Gospel, Jesus even refers to the same as his own body and blood. So he also says, unless we eat his body and drink his blood, we have no life in us, which his body would be the teachings that he brought with him, as well as the vegetation of the earth, and his blood being the life example that he set, as well as the waters of the earth. So therefore, we believe that you can become closer to God if your temple is clean, and the temple is a person's body. The requirements of a cleanliness in a person's body is abstention from unclean foods and alcohol, as well as abstention from unclean thoughts, because that's a big part of the spirituality. Itself is making sure that your head is in the right place.
And again, in the Old Testament, you can see where the prophets remind us of the promises of a good and happy and healthy life, where we're even guarded by God in Jeremiah and Micah, and again in the Gospel of the Holy 12 as well. We can see the importance in encouraging all believers to continue in being in nature and to eat the natural vegetation and drink the natural waters of the earth, and to trust in this food that was actually created for us in the beginning for our wisdom and our healing. As well as saving the innocent and the weak creatures of God, that God has actually given to us to protect and to cherish it, to be with us.
So there's a lot of joy that comes from that, from living in harmony with all the other animals, all creation. So yeah, it's a beautiful way to live, a joyful way to live. So I also wanted to ask you, we usually we talk about this a lot in our calls, that vegan activists struggle a lot with compassion fatigue and burnout, just because we're facing so much suffering, and it feels often that we can't do enough or stop the suffering that we'd like to stop right now. What advice do you have for us to move through that and find the strength we need to continue on this work?
Well, we know that vegan activists are people who are exposed to horrors and shock any person to the core. They put themselves in this position to save any life that they're given the opportunity to, and to show the rest of the world the injustice these creatures suffer every day, day in and day out. We believe that the dominion over the animals was given to us to care for them and protect them. The activists, they're following their hearts. Activists are following their hearts and doing what they know is right. And when dark times come, you wonder why you would put yourself in that kind of a position. You need to rest assured that you're doing it because it's your purpose. We are here to protect the animals. We're here to make sure that they get to live a good life just like we want to live a good life.
So that we can all thrive as one creation.
Yeah, these animals need us to fight for them. Every animal, from the one that crosses your path or enters your yard, clear to the ones that are suffering in captivity in slaughterhouses, they look up to us. They need us, in so to speak, in a matter.
Yes. I mean,
thanks. That's so helpful.
We hope it does bring encouragement.
Yeah, I think having a spiritual basis to our activism it seems to be helping a lot of people. We're finding more and more through our vegan spirituality work and the retreats and things like that, that a lot of activists are really searching for something like what you're offering, some sort of spiritual foundation that can help them make sense out of all this and feel uplifted and strong to carry on the good fight. So what you're doing is really wonderful and helpful along that line. So I kind of getting towards the end of the questions. Is there anything you all would like to say that I haven't asked you before we open up for questions?
Yeah, we would like to talk about the origins of the Gospel of the Holy 12 a little bit. In addition, the Gospel was discovered in 1881 in Aramaic, but the text has been lost. The truths that are within this Gospel is the proof of its authenticity, and this Gospel is based around the 12 commandments that Jesus gave to his disciples. And we have the list of them here.
We'd like to read those 12 to you if we could real quick.
Yeah. That would be great. Thank you.
Great. Number 1, you will not take away the life of any creature, not for your pleasure or for profit, or you will not torture them.
Number 2, you will not steal the goods of any, nor gather lands or riches to yourselves beyond your need or use.
Number 3, you will not eat the flesh, nor drink the blood of any slaughtered creature, or eat anything which brings disorder to your health or senses.
Number 4, you will not make impure marriages where love and health are not, nor yet corrupt yourselves or any creature made pure by the holy.
Number 5, you will not bear false witness against any, nor willfully deceive any by a lie to hurt them.
Number 6 is you will not do unto others as you would not have others do unto you.
Number 7, you will worship one eternal, the Father, Mother in heaven, of whom are all things, and reverence the holy name.
Number 8 is you will revere your fathers and your mothers on earth, whose care is for you, and all the teachers of righteousness.
Number 9, you will cherish and protect the weak, and those who are oppressed, and all creatures that suffer wrong.
Number 10, you will work with your hands the things that are good and seemly. So shall you eat the fruits of the earth and live long in the land.
Number 11, you will purify yourselves daily and rest the seventh day from labor, keeping holy the Sabbath and the festival of your God.
And number 12 is you will do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So,
Yes,
Lisa, shall we open up for questions?
Yes, actually,
See if anybody has a question.
we did have a question. Somebody was asking about the doctrine, at your reading of the 12. It was very related to the question the person asked, so I'll just phrase it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, the question was, where can we find your doctrinal statement?
Excuse me?
Oh, where can we find your doctrinal statement?
Oh, well, you can find them at the church at the Universal and Apostolic Church at Facebook.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest access to them.
And we have, years worth of research and study and our own it's all ours. Everything is pretty much original as far as what has been written. It's come from us, from our hearts and our own research and study.
Beautiful. And the 12 that you just read, you had found those, you said those are written in 1800s?
Yes. It was discovered in 1881, but it is believed to be the original gospel that the 4 canonical gospels are based off of. Is beliefs that many have. Yeah, one of the backstories.
And did that have an author by any chance, or?
It was a G.J. Owsley is the man who discovered it, but I believe that the legend is that it was written by the 12 apostles.
Thank you for clarifying that. So it's amazing holy writing that you found.
Yeah. And
it is really amazing that we got to find it, and as soon as we saw it, it made it possible for us to stand on our own and to live the vegan lifestyle and to really stand up for everything and know that it's not just our ideas, that it's something that God even wants us to do.
Wow. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I want to also let people know that there are a few ways that you can ask questions directly to the Seckmans if you'd like to. You can either, if you're with us on the webinar, you can type the questions into the chat box. You can also, if you're on the phone, press *4, then we'll hear your voice and you can ask a question directly. Another way to do that is to go to turn your audio on if you're in the webinar, and you can also turn on your webcam. When you joined us, I may have turned those off so that we could do the interview, but now you're welcome to go ahead and turn them on by clicking on the icon on your screen, and you can ask a question. It looks like we have somebody who's wanting to ask a question.
Great.
Well, hello?
Hi, can you say your name for? Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Because, like, at least 50% of certain about the other rules.
Can you share that again?
Do unto others. The last rule was 50%. Was 50% of all the other ones. That was the do unto others rule. Yeah.
Yeah, very insightful. So that last rule, which many of us know from all sorts of different scriptures, the do unto others as others would have do unto you. That one is reflective of many of the other ones. That's a really good point, Chris.
Yes, yes, it is. It is something. It's a common thread throughout all of humanity that you want people to treat you the way you want to be treated. We think we all understand that, and you do find it as a basic rule in many cultures and other religions.
Yeah.
The golden rule.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's an important one. I actually have this little golden, it's not golden, it's a marble actually that my grandfather, who was a rabbi, gave me before he died, and it does have the inscription on it, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and then a little description of what that golden rule on this marble, what it meant. So I'll bring that onto our gathering one time and just read the little inscription. It's really beautiful, and that relates to the essential truths that you were sharing earlier.
Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Check on our Facebook to see if anyone has questions here. You're welcome to ask them. So One of the questions, actually, it's more of a comment. Somebody was saying this person was a Jehovah's Witness and always asked, why don't we consider all life sacred? He watched very religious people in her community go fishing for fun. Felt as though that was critical. So I'm wondering, that might be an interesting question to pose to the Seckmans when you see people who are religious in your community, maybe not in your congregation, but outside the area. How do you respond to that?
We try to respond with love, and if we're invited, we turn them down and tell them why, that we don't believe in it. And it may sound odd to some people, but we used to fish, and whenever we became vegan, we decided that catch and release was okay. That as long as we weren't eating them, we were just catching them for fun, and we can put them back. And one day, me and my son were fishing, and whenever I was he had caught one, and I had to pull the hook out of its mouth, and I could hear the fish cry as I was pulling the hook out of its mouth, and that was the last time that we ever fished. We said that it just wasn't going to happen anymore because of do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, and it's the fear that you would instill into those creatures, and these creatures are the temples of God. So as God is experiencing this fear that you're pushing into the world around you. So
Thank you.
That's so beautiful. Yeah.
You had a firsthand experience which gave you some really crucial information about fish and how they feel pain.
Yeah.
Heard the
And
cry.
Yes,
and sharing that story, I
reality.
think, is so powerful.
The firsthand experience, getting out in nature and really trying to understand how the animals feel when we do certain things it's important, and it's really hard to do because they are so apt to run from us. But it is something that if you spend time and have a little bit of patience with, it comes around and helps the understanding of where the whole world is,
Yeah, thank you.
And you can watch the peace come from within yourself and through your family into the creation in your world, where a lot of these so-called wild animals, they become our friends and maybe even like what some would consider to be a pet. But they
or
come
family.
or family and friends, and they come and go as they please. But we try to be there for them to give them the things that they may be in need of. If they do need a drink or if they were to need some food, we try to always have something there for them.
And we do have a question here. That, how do we get people out of their anthropocentric superior focus? Humans are more important. That God put animals here for us. This person, Paula, who asked the question, says she encounters a lot of people like that. So how do we shift people from focusing on the idea that humans are superior? Also, that these people cite after the flood that God gave us permission and dominion over the animals. So how do you respond to these sorts of?
Okay. We see that in the beginning, God gave us the vegetation of the earth for our food, and it not only for us, for every living creature. And then through our own corruption of nature, but whenever we left the law behind and left the garden, left God, this is whenever everything changed, and we see the death and the murder come into play, and it's from it goes from animals into people, and or you see that the animals are given as food after the flood. There are many translations and many scholars that will attest to the fact that whenever it speaks of giving us living things to eat after the flood, it's still talking of the vegetation, and the animals are still ours to protect and not to consume. But there's many controversies on that topic. But the will of God is that we eat the vegetation and we live with the animals in harmony. For instance, Jehovah's Witnesses, we've done years of study with different denominations of Christianity, Jehovah's Witnesses being one of them, and they believe that we will not consume animals after the kingdom is established, after the kingdom on earth is brought. But they will not quit eating animals now in awaiting the kingdom. They feel that they're not supposed to.
They think that it's not their call. They think that they're waiting. What, as it was explained to us, is that they are waiting for that rule to be reestablished. They don't believe that there's a necessity to do what God originally intended us to do before that rule is reestablished. And we believe that rule was made, and the quicker we can establish it and get it back here on earth, the better off we'll all be. So.
Yes, and it really comes back to the gospel of the Holy 12, where Jesus is teaching these things, and there's no gray area as far as mercy and love and wisdom for all created things, and making sure everything thrives in our world. That is a must it's a must for the believers.
Yeah, the gospel itself states very clearly that the reason that there are questions like this in the scriptures that we have is because they were corrupted through the blind impulsive desires of man, or because of blind impulsive desires of man.
Yeah, and that's really what has led to the death and misery and lust and everything that is in the world is because of these.
Thank you for
our own blind, selfish desires. Yeah.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
We're coming close to the close of our group, and I know that the Seckmans were interested in perhaps leading us in a closing prayer. So let us know if you'd still like to do that. I know.
Hello.
Oh, we may have. Yes. Do you have a question?
Hi. I've been trying to get in.
Oh, okay. Please share your name with us.
It was really hard. Hi. I am so happy to be in this, and I wanted to get into the webinar, but I don't know how to do that. And I need to learn how. I need to know get instructed how to do that. I really wanted to do it that way.
Can you share just your first name with us?
How? Oh yes. My name is Millie Rodriguez. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
I am so glad that I made it.
Yes.
I usually go on Thursdays. I go to physical therapy, and I missed physical therapy tonight just to make this. This sounded very exciting to me. I'm so happy about this. And we need more Christian vegan churches. I am so happy. Thank you guys for this.
Yeah.
I have a question, though. What do we tell people that talks about, well, Jesus, he ate fish, he fed people with fish, and in the Last Supper, they prepared for him a lamb, and he was okay with it. I mean, if he was not okay with us eating the animals, why was he okay with being fed a lamb for the Last Supper? So what do we tell people when they corner us with that? I need to know, because I don't want to be cornered with this anymore. I want to have a good solid answer.
That's a great question. As far as the Last Supper goes, Jesus actually commanded that the lamb be set free, and they ate vegetation for the Last Supper.
The Last Supper is as we also see where the canonical scriptures will speak of Jesus feeding the multitudes with fish, and yes.
You can see now through the work of scholars and translators, we can see that was most likely a translation and was more along the lines of fish weed, which is a vegetation again.
Seaweed. No,
yeah.
Things like that. The same thing that the fish eat, basically.
So it was really seaweed, you're saying?
Yes. Yes, and yes, and Jesus fed the multitudes with melon.
The bread.
Yeah, bread and melon instead of the bread and the fish. 5 loaves of bread and the fish. It was actually, bread and melon.
So,
and
did I bring that to their attention?
What's that?
If I bring that to their attention, they're going to say, like, okay, so can prove to me that it was melon and not fish. So how do I prove that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? We're having a little trouble hearing.
Many that I would tell that to would probably want to know where did I get that information from? If it was really melon or seaweed, can I prove it to them? Or how would I prove that?
That's a good question, and I do know that we've come across it in our studies. It would be
yes, and we could do a little extra searching and post those things to the church as the evidence of it.
Great, that would be very, very helpful. So,
it
would be because.
Yeah, that would be. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Oh yes, even John the Baptist. It starts out. It says John the Baptist ate locusts and wild honey, and our translation says that John the Baptist actually ate beans from the locust tree. So you can understand how these could be actual mistranslations.
Depending on the person who's translating its concept of food.
Yes, and this is something that we've run into before. We did an interview with Keith Ackers, and he is a scholar on Jesus and is convinced that he was vegan, and he actually wrote a book called Disciples. And in his research, he also found the same thing. There were mistranslations.
Mistranslations.
So if you would provide any of the examples and put them onto the Facebook page that you have, which we posted in our chat box, also on the Facebook page, that would be really, really helpful.
That would be awesome. Another thing that I point out to people when they say, "Oh, we're supposed to drink milk," even when they were bringing the people to the 40-day journey to the Promised Land, he said, "We're going to bring you to the land of milk and honey." Well, I tell them, well, that's probably a false translation, because when he was leading the people, and he said he was leading them to milk and honey, he didn't. When they were complaining about they were thirsty and hungry, he did not give them milk. He gave them water. They struck the mountain and water came out. Drinking water, right? And then also for honey, he didn't give them honey. He gave them manna. And so it's not milk and honey.
There was manna, and
water
there's a lot of
manna.
Yes. Yes, and you can actually see in the Old Testament, whenever they do make it into the land of milk and honey, God commands the people not to eat the honey. It's actually a requirement until somebody does eat the honey, and then it just kind of moves into, well, the honey's been eaten, but the original commandment of God is not to partake of the honey. So but because it's not, obviously, it was for something else, not for us to consume.
So one more
Another thing I like about that. Oh, sorry.
Millie, sorry, I just wanted to add one thing that
sorry.
This is by Galney Paula, just posted this on our chat box, that Ren Berry has a book called Food for the Gods, Vegetarian and the World's Religions, says that in the Christianity section that Jesus was actually crucified for his position on animals. So it's quite boggling.
Yes, that sounds like an interesting book. Thank you.
We believe so too, and it's not only the vegan doctrine. It's the equality of our Father, Mother, God, and
equality in our lives as
male and female, whether child or adult.
Yeah, and like he said, the vegan to start out with, which is the equality of the animals as well.
Yes, these are things that made Christ's teachings, I guess, like what wouldn't be considered to be mainstream theory, I guess.
Thank you all so much. And I don't know, Millie, if you had something else you wanted to say, but we will
Yeah.
be... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something quick about that story of the 40-day journey. That I really, really appreciate that story. They show that a lot to non-vegan people, that this is supposed to eat the animals. So on that journey, a lot of people were complaining after they got the manna that they still wanted to eat meat. So God said, okay, so they want meat? Okay, we'll give them meat. So he spreaded the whole camp with thousands of quails. A lot of people that wanted to meat, they did gather the quail and they did eat it for meat. Those people got struck dead because it says in the scripture because they gave in to their desire of wanting to eat meat.
Yes, and that is actually in the Gospel of the Holy 12 as well, and where Jesus speaks of that actual incident.
Yes. Wow. So that proves right there. If he wanted us to eat meat, why would he struck us dead? And that's happening right now. A lot of people are dying from eating animal product because it's giving them a lot of chronic illness. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
It says in the Gospel of the Holy 12 in chapter 31, verse 3. It says, "Truthfully, my body is the substance of God, and this is meat indeed, and my blood is the life of God, and it is drink indeed. Not as your ancestors who craved for flesh, and God gave them flesh in his wrath, and they ate of corruption till it stank in their nostrils, and their carcasses fell by the thousands in the wilderness by reason of the plague. It says, of such it is written, they shall wander 49 and 40 years in the wilderness till they are purified from their lust, ere they enter into the land of rest."
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It really speaks to your heart, it sounds so...
It's of divine origin, really, and divinely inspired.
It makes so much sense to us when we read it.
Thank you for sharing those scriptures with us. We really appreciate it, and thank you, Millie, for your questions. And now we're going to bring our program to a close. We do offer this program each month. We gather together to explore veganism as a spiritual practice, and we have different guests each month. We thank the Seckmans for joining, sharing about their Universal and Apostolic Church, and we're excited about the launching of their church and a vegan church that teaches compassion. Would you like to do a closing prayer for us?
Yes, that would be great. We are really excited and we really appreciate being here as well. As far as prayer goes, we follow the guidance given to us in this gospel and prayer as well. Jesus says not to pray out loud in vanity, but to go into our secret chamber and then pray to the Father, Mother, who knows even our thoughts, and they will hear us. And when we do come together and pray in common, that we follow this example. Our Father, Mother, who art above and within, hallowed be thy sacred name in Biune Trinity. In wisdom, love, and equity, thy kingdom come to all. Thy holy will be done always, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us day by day to partake of thy holy bread and the fruit of thy living vine. As we seek to perfect others, so perfect us in thy Christ. Show upon us thy goodness, as to others we may show the same. In the hour of trial, deliver us from evil. For thine are the kingdom, the power, and the glory, from the ages of ages now, unto the ages of ages. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for
Amen. Beautiful.
that beautiful prayer with us, and for also
Yes.
being part of our community tonight, our online community. And thanks to everyone who's joined us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Judy. Thanks to everybody who had questions. We really enjoyed our time. This is really, really exciting, and
Yeah,
we're happy to share.
A great experience for us.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. And if anyone has further questions for the Seckmans, you can find them.
For us too.
You can find them on.
I just got one more scripture. As scriptures coming, and a lot of people to sacrifice a lamb. In Isaiah 66:3, it says, "He who kills a bull is as if he slays a man. He who sacrifices a lamb is as if he breaks a dog's neck."
Yes, we see those too, and these are spread out throughout the scriptures. This is the truth that we're talking about. This thread that is within all of them. This is the good that is for us to thrive on.
And when you read them, it's really undeniable what they're saying. I know that you feel that when you read it. You know that it means that, there is no excuse for death.
Yes.
Thank you so
Beautiful.
much for clarifying
you.
and for sharing all the scriptures with us, Millie. And we hope that this is information that people can use, can go back to their own places of worship and bring some of the scripture with them.
For sure. Find us on Facebook, because we're excited to talk about it to anybody who wants to talk about it.
Yes, and we have the entire gospel there in sections on the church, and we have commentary for a lot of those scriptures based on our own research and our own understanding of what they mean.
Fabulous. So we can access all that information.
Thank you.
Well, thanks to everyone for joining us, and we hope that you have a lovely evening and that you passion for all living beings. To tuning in with everyone again next month. If you'd like to mute yourself and say goodbye, we can do that. So good night, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks to everyone for joining us. Good night.
Night.
Good night.